Get you a girl who can do both. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Yes, Jay Simmons, I see you, girl. I'm Shannon Washington. Take these glasses off. Hi, I'm Shannon Washington.
Oh,
I am the founder and director of Parlour Travel. Thank you for spending your early evening with us. We are here to talk about all things travel in the post-pandemic world and kind of like what the truth is as we know it. I'm going to quickly introduce the women next to me. I don't know if you can see the same setup that I can see, but I'm going to try to point and we're going to hope this works. But if not, raise your hand when I say hello to you. First, I want to introduce someone who takes my money all the time. With every post, I go look at my travel savings and I go, I don't know. But she said it's nice. This is Danielle, often known as the Hotel Whisperer. On IG, she's at Hotel Whisperer, and she's often called the Hotel Whisperer for her strategic engagement of some of the top luxury hospitality brands in the world. Danielle Pointdujuour is an author, journalist, and media personality with an enviable obsession, I love that, with luxury travel and a passion for helping top brands reach and connect with consumers and power players in the Black travel space. Danielle has introduced and connected a younger generation to luxury brands, experiences, and destinations previously thought to only be enjoyed by business and seasoned travelers. Her brand speaks for a generation with a passion for travel and the disposable income to experience the world at its finest. I love that line because they be thinking we don't got it, and we do. I'm just gonna just call out some of the places where you can see her words. I'm sure you've read her stories already about travel. You can see Danielle's name in print in Yahoo Travel, Travel Noir, Jet Magazine, Cassius Life, Excellent Nicole, Parlour, Live Civil by Vixen, Go-Go Concourse, and she's held roles as a lifestyle editor at Essence and Ebony Magazine. So welcome, Danny. Thank you for taking the time tonight. And then next, let me see if I do this right, Miss Sabrina.
Yay!
She is the founder of Natural Partners in Crime, and she does wear many hats, as her bio says. I honestly think Sabrina actually has more jobs than I do. She's an event producer, creating unique events. You probably heard of one of her premiere events in your city, but they're specializing in the natural hair community. She's based out of New York, the Bronx. She's produced over 55 events since 2013, ranging from intimate affairs like the Hue Affair, if you've gone to it, I love that, to major events with over 1,400 attendees. She has touched down in pretty much every major city that you could think of. You've probably heard about or been to one of her events. And she also manages numerous top social media influencers in the natural hair and beauty industry. And in addition to being an activation manager for brands like Palmer's and such, where Sabrina and I really connect is Sabrina is also the woman behind Destination Naturals, which is one of my favorite group trips. I can never actually go on because the timing never works out for me. But if you are interested in connecting with women, who think like-minded about beauty, Black beauty in particular, and just love a good weekend, I really highly recommend Destination Naturals. And I know you got to postpone Cabo, correct?
No, we're doing it at the end of September.
All right, so let's talk about that, because if you're trying to go somewhere, if you're really trying to make it happen,
we're doing it. Cabo opened up yesterday.
Right here, and she is at Natural Partners in Crime on Instagram. And so I'm going to move on to a woman right here, I believe, and that is Tracy Coleman. I unofficially want to say Tracy is my partner in all things fit and fun and work life. We're both art directors by trade. However, when it comes to at BK Travel Addict, which is what she's known as in the travel world, she is a dual part witty travel storyteller and global humanitarian, what she's doing with Passion Passports.
Passports.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
A lot of things going on in my head right now, but the idea of giving back with every move that you make with travel and working that into your travel life, in addition to just keeping it real about travel. She's the reason why she's the reason why, you know, a lot of people I think are looking at travel, or one of the reasons why, in a completely different light, especially I feel like what's going to happen after COVID in terms of how can I make an actionable difference and what I do and where I go, how do I travel responsibly in a whole new way. However, if you just want some real deal stories about what it's like to stay in a hotel versus a hostel versus an Airbnb, what it's like to get stuck in South Africa, which we can get into tonight, you can definitely check out her work, which has been featured in Ebony, Essence, Travel Noir, and Parlour Travel as well. She was named one of Essence's 9 travel Instagrams you should follow, and by Clutch Magazine's 9 Women Inspiring Us to Travel as well. And she's coming live to us from Johannesburg right now. And so just big up to her because it's almost like 12 o'clock at night. And last but not least, to my, I think this would be my left, we have Miss Ashley Tuck, and she combines 2 things that I live for, and that is drinking and traveling. Ashley Tuck is the founder and editor-in-chief of We'll Drink for Travel. She's from Baltimore, but lives and works in Washington, D.C. Travel has become her passion in recent years, and her favorite destinations thus far are Tanzania and Italy. Her favorite drink, it really does depend on the day. I'm sure that has changed now that we are just traveling from our bathroom to our living rooms right about now. But what does We'll Drink for Travel do? I consider it to be one of my Epicurean kind of like go-tos in terms of if I want to find out where to get a good drink in a location. We'll Drink for Travel combines the love of traveling and seeing new places with the love of unique and native spirits. It's a view into the wine, beer, and spirits industry encountered while traveling. What better way to travel the world than one drink at a time? And I think that says it all. And last but not least, I guess I got to talk about myself now. Like I said, I am Shannon Washington. I am the founder and director of Parlour Travel. I live 2 lives, and I don't live them by day, by night. I really do live them concurrently. In my field, I'm a group executive creative director in advertising. And so I hold it down at one of the major advertising agencies in the world. And I also really am dedicated to women living their best lives through travel, especially solo travel. And that means a lot to me. And when I say living our best lives, I also mean living our best lives in business class and really understanding that luxury is not something that's just afforded to the rich. You can always make it work. I have been really, really privileged to be able to fly in some of the best classes in the world. And I've also been able to not pay full price for them. And that's what I live and breathe by. I am the designer of the Travel Fly Solo Week experiences. You may have heard of them, going to Mykonos. We were in Morocco last year, and this time we're supposed to be in Thailand right now, but we moved that trip to next year, and I'd love for you to join us. And we're also going to Curacao next fall as well. And with that said, I wanted to get these group of ladies together to really break it down on what it means to travel right now, what it means to even think about travel right now, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of people are getting, facts from Twitter timeline versus, an actual full website, an actual full government website, which we'll get into as well. This is going to be a bit more of a roundtable conversation. I'll be asking some questions, but the ladies here will be taking us through it. So before we get into it, I will just say one thing. Travel is an intensely personal experience. It means something different to everyone. We travel for different reasons. We travel with different goals in mind as well. It's not a sport. It is definitely a lifetime building experience. And with that said, I want to be clear that this is in no way a pressure for you to travel now. I speak for all the ladies here, your health is way more important than any trip that you could take right now. We want you to feel safe. We want you to feel confident, and hold on to this information for now and for later as well. And then legally, none of us are doctors, none of us are travel insurance agents. However, we know them both and will point you in the right direction since you want some expert advice. Definitely. So with that, I'm gonna put on my sunglasses. I'm gonna take my, I got my passport. I'm ready. I'm ready. And I feel like if I just put my travel tag on myself, I could just show up at the airport because I'm really just ready to go right now. And I told you I was serious. Let's do this. We're going to get into our first question. And that is all around safety. Excuse me 1 second. Here we go. So our first opportunity, our first actual theme that we're going to talk about is safety. We got all of your questions. We got about, I would say, close to 200 questions. And I just want to start this off by asking Sabrina, how safe do you think it is to travel internationally right now? And when do you see this getting better?
I mean, safety is definitely a personal issue in my mindset. Internationally, a lot of those places don't necessarily want us right now, and they're making a lot of rules and regulations for, the United States and people within the states. So I would say, first and foremost, wherever you plan to go, you need to do your research. Embassy, travel agency, if you do have, going to that country's site to clarify what the rules and regulations are, because they might say open, but there might be rules on what you need to bring medically wise, and all these different things about quarantining when you get there. So research is top and foremost what you need to be doing right now.
100%. Tracy, I'd love to know what you think in terms of somebody who could be coming back to the United States pretty soon as well, and your experience, being in a place where Americans are kind of like, kind of looked at funny in the sense of like, you don't got the Rona, do you? I'd love you to talk about that.
It's interesting, I think that, and a lot of us had this experience when you travel as an American, let's say 8 years ago, people are like, oh, we want to hear about, your president. And it's like a welcoming thing. And I think since I've been here this time, it was humbling. It's humbling because I got here in March, and it was the first time where people hear my accent and they're just like, wait, where are you from? And I'm like, New York. And they're like, this is the whole thing,
Wow.
Back then it was COVID, and now it's, everything going on with the protests. So it's been interesting being in another country and getting all the questions about what's going on in America in a different way that I would normally get, normally when things aren't so crazy in the country.
Right. I think safety is just one of those things that is, again, super subjective of like, how safe do you feel? If you have, COVID antibodies, do you feel safer? That hasn't yet to be proven as a route to immunity. But again, I think it's, safety has always been a personal issue for people. Like, I've hitchhiked on the road in countries. And so that's my personal POV, but I know that's something someone that would never do. And so if you think about safety, like at a full scale, I think you have to do what's, look at things in terms of what are you willing to do and what do you consider to be peace of mind giving. Like, where it could be wiping down the seat, it could be bringing your own UV light on someplace, or it could just be staying at home. I think safety is just one of those things that's just super subjective in this point in terms of how safety you feel. But I want to talk about traveling in the fall, because someone here is hosting a trip in the fall, and I am actually planning to go on a trip, I think, in the fall as well. And so I want to talk about, because we've been hearing a lot of conversations around like the fall. Ashley, I'd love to know, what you've been hearing in your circles in terms of, do we think it's going to get better? Should we be thinking about a spike?
I've been hearing, people think there's going to be a second wave. But I think in order to be a second wave, you have to get out of the first one, which we are not out of yet. Right. So I think, the situation remains the same. You have to do whatever you feel like is best for you and your family. I think people think it's dying down, but we've seen over 20 states have had increased rates. And I think that, in order to be mindful travelers, we have to think, do we want to actually risk, taking COVID to Mexico or to the Bahamas or wherever you want to go? I think, we can't only think about what's there, but we have to also think about what we could potentially bring there and bring harm to their communities as well. So again, I really think it's, what is best for you and your family.
Right. And Sabrina, I know you have a trip coming up again, like I mentioned, in Cabo. What is your hotel doing to ensure like the safety of all of your guests? And are you are you remixing any events or anything like that just to ensure safety as well?
Well, they have stepped up their game. They actually created a complete video showcasing all the extra steps that they're doing for safety, cleaning. Very, very thorough. They sent that out about a month before. The great thing about group trips, if you're planning it the right way, you have a helper, a travel agent who really is guiding you. And we've been blessed to work with someone every year. She's amazing. Like shout out to Jessie. I mean, Jessie is amazing. She hand holds us. You know, when this first started, we were going to cancel. And she said, listen, pump your brakes. We don't know what's happening. Let's be cognizant of what their information they're coming out with. Cabo had under, I think, 150 cases. They shut down very quickly, and they just opened up on Monday. And they have policies and procedures. But again, like you said, it's very personal. So our events usually have anywhere from 50 to 75 women. We know that this year it's not going to be that capacity because people, but forget COVID. You know, COVID created unemployment. People are worried about feeding their families. So financially, there are women that weren't able to commit to it. So we are kind of taking this event as a self-care. You're going to come out to this. Events will be different. We won't be doing 5-6 events that we usually do, a welcome dinner, a remix party, a pool party. You'll get to experience us as the people that are putting the event together, but you'll also get to have some downtime, which I think at this point, everybody wants. We want to be in a nice hotel. We want to be safe. We want to be able to wake up when we want to, you know, smile, see somebody's face, but also have peace of mind. So it's going to be different, but because we've been doing this will be our 4th year. People trust us to know that we're not going to not put people's safety first.
And speaking of safety, I know that Jamaica opened up this week.
Yep.
That was a big deal for a lot of us because a lot of us do a lot of travel in the Caribbean. And I know Bermuda came out with some guidelines, just like Jamaica does. And I'm sure perhaps Mexico does as well. I believe they do. In terms of intake at the airport. And Danny, I know you and I talk about this because you and I are always looking for a little place to escape to. And so we got a question that I think definitely hits on this in the fact that, do you think we will need health certificates / test results to travel internationally?
I do. I think at some point that's going to be mandatory just across the board. And you already see locations implementing that. Like, you can go to St. Lucia technically, but there are quarantine restrictions. There are COVID. You have to have a note from your doctor at least 3 days before your flight. You get tested again once you get there. Same for Jamaica. I mean, even Cambodia, big tourist destination, they're charging $3,000 if you want to come, because they're just preemptively thinking that you're going to need a hotel, that you're going to need, that they're charging $130 something for the test. Wow. Then they're anticipating your food. Yes, drink up, because that's what I did when I saw that $3,000 bill. It's just, a lot of countries are taking precautions because it was so devastating for a lot of communities. And I think right now Americans are the black sheep. So they're especially trying to, they want tourism to continue, because for some of these countries, they're opening because they have to, not because they necessarily want to, but they're taking a large amount of, caution. Right. So I think at some point, right now, everybody's kind of doing it piece by piece, but at some point there's going to be like a universal, just like you have to have your yellow fever card to go to all the yellow fever infected countries. It's going to be something where we have to have this COVID-free card, good for 10 years or something, just to be able to go, to the Caribbean.
I was actually going to bring up yellow fever because, I went to Kenya. You have to show that as soon as you can't even enter the airport before you show them your card. Right. So, if that's what it takes, that's what it's going to take. And I think we should all just be prepared for that.
Yeah, I definitely think COVID results until like this national or maybe internationally, this internationally accepted stamp, if you think about it, our card or some type of documentation that you are COVID free or COVID friendly. I even wonder if COVID free is going to be enough in terms of like, you don't have it, but you could get it. And I think about that a lot, but I think right now your documents, like getting the test, that is your new passport. And to be quite honest, I would do that anyway. Like, I would not leave this country if I had COVID. Exactly. Of course, even if I was like asymptomatic or whatnot, because I know, we got another question around You know, what's our responsibility to the people and places of our destinations? Our responsibility is not to get other people sick. And it's also to 100% understand that Danny raised a good point. People are opening not necessarily because they want to.
But they have.
There are some countries that have to open in order to keep their GDP, in order to keep their schools open, in order to keep their grocery stores going or whatnot. And I think it's good to, you know, we're all proponents here of being a responsible traveler and understanding that once you get there, it may not be what you thought, because people are still trying to protect themselves. And I think if you just kind of keep an open mind with that, in terms of, you know, fall and a little bit of, you know, maybe winter of next year might be the season of like, I'm just going to sit pretty, travel, you know, hang by the beach with a cocktail, keep to yourself, bring a few audiobooks, and like relax versus the turn up. I don't think.
Yeah. And I think that brings us back to kind of when somebody's saying, is it going to be okay to travel in the fall? Like you said, it might not look the way you think it's going to look. We've been locked in the house, you know, and so we're all eager to get out. But a lot of places, even as they're opening, the things that you're normally used to are not open. So Jamaica opens, but there's hotels like the Cliffs that are not opening until October, maybe. And that could determine, you know, if there's another spike between now when they open and September, they might not open in October. And a lot of hotels are only doing half occupancy because they don't want the large crowds. So you might think you're able to get a hotel in the fall to go to wherever destination that you've been dreaming of, but they might not accept your reservation at the hotel or the Airbnb. You know, because they don't want all these people coming in and out. It might be expensive for the Airbnb host to keep constantly cleaning the apartments to a certain sanitized level. So they might limit the number of people that they're allowed to book their spaces. Hotels are not taking large groups anymore because people don't want to book hotels because they're scared of being around all of those guests. I got a survey from Four Seasons that was like, would you come to our hotel if we kind of took half occupancy? That's going to be the new norm because people don't want to be surrounded by all those people in the pool and your 5 kids and your, you know, the big family group trips. So they're trying to figure out ways to have a middle ground where they can open and still bring in tourism, but appease people who are scared to travel because they're afraid of, you know, contracting COVID. So it's not going to look the way we think it's going to look even beyond the fall. It's still going to be different.
Yeah. To go back to an earlier, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Responsibility piece. I want to touch on the responsibility piece. In addition to that, you know, us, whether it's required or not, you know, wanting to be tested before we go to a country, it's not like a free-for-all once you get there. You know, even if you know, I think somebody just mentioned that Cabo has 150 cases, right? We have to think about what it means to go there, and you still have to be careful. You know, you still have to make sure you don't contract it while you're there and pass it on, because a lot of these countries, sure, the resort's beautiful, you know, sure, whatever is open is amazing, but there's communities in that city oftentimes or right outside of it that cannot handle an outbreak of COVID, you know? So if, you know, I encourage folks who are traveling, get tested before you leave, but while you're there, just be careful, you know, still do all the things they say, still wash your hands, still wear your mask in front of people. If you're in your little secluded area on the beach, I'm gonna find one myself, it's cool, like do your thing. But when you're in town or around people, just think about what could happen if you do get it somehow and pass it on to somebody that can't handle, just can't handle it.
They can't,
No, that's absolutely true. And Tracy, you also just raised a good point in terms of can't handle it and even like a local infrastructure as well. I think right now you need to be also really cognizant of what is healthcare like in the country that you are going to in the event that you do get sick and you need immediate treatment. Or if you're found to have COVID and, you know, they will literally put you into treatment and more than likely you have to pay for it. That's the policies that I'm seeing at most countries right now. Like you will have to foot that bill as well. And, you know, there are some countries that, you know, can not duplicate, if not even exceed, you know, what we consider to be a standard of care in the United States and most European countries. But I think that's also really important too, looking at the full picture before you decide to go anywhere, especially in the next 6 to 8 months in terms of, okay, what's my in case shit happens plan? I can go here. I have my travel insurance, which we will get into. But I know kind of like what I need to do. I have money to pay for this. And I also know that I'm going to be getting a certain amount of care, or you know, to give a good example, like in Barbados, you can go to the public hospital and pay a good amount of standard money for that, QEH, or you can go to a private hospital like Sandy Lane, and you're going to have to pay private hospital prices as well.
Yeah.
And so those are all things to be super cognizant of. Like, you just have to do your homework 100%. I wanted to ask, I want to go back into hotels, because I think right now, you know, the road trip is going to be the new jam this summer. I myself, I'm actually going to the Poconos this weekend to go into a house, and I literally packed this bag this morning. I got Clorox wipes, I got hospital grade disinfectant, germicide. It literally says germicide. Like, you gotta like put it on things and let it sit for 2 minutes. And if you know, if you work in a hospital, you know what I'm talking about. I'm bringing my own paper towels. I thought about bringing my own sheets, but I was like, we're not gonna go there. It's not found in sheets. But I think that there is a level of readiness that you have when you go into a shared space. But is there anything that we're seeing right now in hotels, especially, and more kind of like hosted spaces that are giving us comfort in terms of like their level of care?
Well, I can say that your hotels are definitely trying to step it up. One hotel that I've really seen really put their policies out there has been Four Seasons. And I think that's in part because in New York City, they have been hosting essential workers. So they've really had to step it up in terms of their sanitation and the safety, because, you know, essential workers obviously are in the front lines of COVID. And so they're, you know, doing testing, they're extra sanitizing rooms, which of course it makes many of us think, what were they doing before? But, you know, you're kind of side-eyeing them like, now you want to write down the remote control? Okay. But they're really stepping it up, and they're making their policies known. So I would say for anywhere that you book, if the hotel can't tell you what their policy is, I'm talking about not just, oh, we extra sanitize the room. I mean, Four Seasons has a point by point by point how they're sanitizing these rooms, how they're taking temperatures, how they're securing staff, how they're no longer doing, they're doing no contact room service, if at all, in some of their properties. They're highlighting those things, and they're making it known so that the traveler feels safe. If your hotel or your Airbnb host can't give you a plan for how they're sanitizing their space beyond you bringing your own stuff and just wiping everything down, I wouldn't stay there. It's too risky. Even if you don't have it and you got tested before you got on the plane, if they haven't cleaned that room, you don't know what the other person left. And so I really think it's important for the hospitality industry to be transparent. Some people are, some people aren't. I think I'm giving leeway to some people because they might still be trying to figure it out. I mean, the information changes day by day. But I think Four Seasons is a good example of a hotel that put all their information on the front line. Like, this is what we're doing to keep you safe, not even to bring you to us and give us some coins, but to make sure that you don't, you know, die. And I think that's very important these days. And I think readiness is with your paper towels and your Clorox wipes. That, I mean, we all laughed at Naomi. Well, I didn't, because I've been
Team Naomi for almost 10 years.
I've been going for Naomi for a while. I don't know what the rest of you were doing on planes, but that's the reality. Like, I use nice seat covers always because they're washable. I have my Dettol wipes to wipe down everything. I have, you know, gloves. I have all of that stuff, because it seems crazy then to just try to like wipe down the food tray. But now the food tray could have, you know, crumbs on it from a cookie and COVID. So now you have to be extra, extra careful with everything.
Yeah, it's always funny to me. Go ahead.
Airbnb and VRBO actually came out with updated cleaning policies as well, and they can be found on their website. So like Danielle was saying, if these companies can't give you, you know, an outline of what their procedures are, even these airlines, like, you need to know, if you decide to travel and you get on an airline, what their policy is, because it's not mandatory that they leave those middle seats open.
That's true.
They have been doing that, you know, as a courtesy, but they can't make a profit or even break even if they don't fill the plane. So, you know, just research, you know, the policies of your airline and wherever you're staying, because it can vary.
Yeah, a smarter traveler is definitely a safer traveler right now. And it's funny that you brought up airlines because some news just dropped today actually around alcohol on airlines and how
Mhm.
alcohol is not being served on most airlines. Now, this is different. It depends on what type of class you fly as well. And business and first, alcohol will be served, on request. But the idea here is that, that counts as food service and they are limiting food service depending on these, depending on your airline as well. And another great point that was raised by Ashley was there's no actual national regulation on what these airlines can do. So they're all kind of making their own policies. And that's really important. A good example is JetBlue. They're blocking the middle seat only until July 31st. And so if they're putting that date out there, are they thinking that they're going to start opening back up, or are they going to, continue to like shift and shift and shift that date? The same way I like to tell people, to kind of stay on top of things in terms of getting the best flight deal or whatnot. I feel like weekly, if you're aiming towards a certain space in the fall or early next year, literally weekly, you're going to have to start looking up your travel information and what your safety precautions are, from the plane to whatever transportation that you have at the airport. What is your airport doing? Which is very important because airports in the United States are regulated via TSA, and all of the various airlines are adopting the same in-airport policies. But when you go outside of the country, it depends on the country that you're going into as well. And so research equals safety, 100%.
I did want to bring up one thing. Oh yeah, we lost.
We lost Tracy.
Tracy.
She is coming in all the way from the other side of the world, so I'm sure she'll be back pretty soon.
Yeah. I did want to bring up one thing. The State Department has excellent resources.
Yes.
If you want to check out the latest travel warning, and also enroll in the STEP program, the Smart Traveler
program.
Yeah. I was doing that pre-COVID just because I actually work for the government, and so I know that firsthand they look to that information gathered from that program to see what Americans are in country, to keep track just in case there's a protest or a terrorist attack or anything, so definitely register with STEP anytime you go anywhere.
Yeah, and that's definitely one of the first things they're gonna ask you if you get sick or if you get in trouble in any other country. That is literally how they can find you. And that usembassy.gov, I believe, and then they go into like the different countries or whatnot, is an excellent resource from the State Department.
And please stop using Google and Facebook groups for your 100% definite information. People are pulling information that is incorrect and passing it off. Now the big thing is we can go anywhere because we have O-type blood. So we're not going to get COVID. A few months ago, we weren't getting COVID simply because we were Black. A few months ago, we could go
if we drank hot things. I remember that.
Yeah, we drank hot things.
Oh my God.
So, I mean, when Ashley says, go to these official government websites, it's not just because, she works for the government. It's because that's where you're going to get the legitimate information that's probably more up to date than even some of these news articles on CNN, or what your friend heard from the other friend who just left and went to Mexico last week and came back and heard this, because the news is ever evolving and changing. So, this is not the time for conspiracy theories, so to speak. You need to, O-type blood is not going to protect you, because if it protected us, we wouldn't have Black people dying at higher rates from COVID, because Black people tend to have O-type blood. So that obviously is not 100% true. So we need to make sure that we're going to official sites to get information.
So in addition to arming yourself with information, I know that we were kind of like laughing about, we were kind of having a kiki about Naomi and the wiping down. And I think that most people think that wiping down is kind of the end of it. But I know we all have a bit of our own little, like, I do this, I do this, I do this. Like Danny and I are definitely team bring your own travel blanket.
Yep.
But what are your other, like, I ain't getting nothing, I ain't getting the Rona on this seat or anywhere else type of behavior when you get on the flight, or any other type of maybe even shared economy travel transportation?
Okay, when I'm in Gen Pop, no, I'm just kidding. When I'm in economy,
not Gen Pop, girl. I can't.
When I'm on the plane in general, definitely one of the first things I do is put my seat cover on. Like I mentioned earlier, Nice Seats has really cute seat covers. I've been using them for years. I've highlighted them on Essence. They're really great. Protect yourself on the seat, because I have friends that have worked for airlines cleaning the planes, and those seats don't get nearly enough attention. They have minutes between dropping off people and picking up people, so they're not giving them a proper clean. I also have
are gross. Seats in general are gross.
Yeah, they're gross. They're terrible. I also, like I said, I have my wipes to wipe everything down, and I mean everything. I wipe the vent above my seat because that recycled air is coming through. You don't know what's in that vent. I clean that. I clean the window pane because I sometimes rest my head on it. Yep. I do the arms. I do the remote for the television screens. I wipe the screen. I wipe the footrest. I wipe the outlet covers because my hand might touch it. I wipe everything down. And I have all kinds of antibacterial sprays. I mean, really, and then now masks are a big deal. So I definitely have like a stash of masks that I'm going to be keeping with me just to wear on the plane, because again, airplanes recycle air. So if you're on a 14-hour flight and somebody didn't listen to those COVID warnings and came on the plane anyway, that's air that's circulating back around you. So that's just some of the things that I do just in general, even pre-COVID.
The Washington Post has like a graphic where it shows you how the particles spread like in the plane. Like it could be one person on the plane, but now we all have it.
It goes back, it goes back.
Yes, it is nasty. I mean, I'm going to be honest and say I didn't go full Naomi, getting on planes. I wiped something here or there, but now it's like everything is getting wiped down, for real.
100%. Like, even if you got to smell like Dettol, you smell like Dettol.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And last but not least, before, we kind of move on to some other topics, I do want to talk about, the whole share economy as well, because airplanes are just one part of it, but it's Uber, it's Airbnb, it's, the airport, transportation service that sometimes, unless you book it exclusively to yourself, is not to yourself. It picks up a group. And thinking about travel, like, how are you guys planning to tackle that?
That's interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, Ubers, I've never done pools. I don't share Ubers. So it's usually myself. And I have only taken 2 Ubers since we've gone into quarantine. And I have my mask on, I have my gloves. I don't talk to my Uber drivers very rarely anyway, but they've been putting up either some kind of like plastic film or whatever the case may be. In my mind, I've always had Tsa Precheck, clear. I've heard and I've seen that LaGuardia and JFK are expediting that. So people are saying you're getting through much quicker. There is no passing of passports anymore. I think you just scan things. So that's been quicker. But when you are going to a foreign country and you share the van, the only thing I could say that I would do is probably wipe down my area. I wouldn't like shake anyone's hand, not being rude. You can give them a fist bump or elbow bump, wearing a mask. But I think you have to present yourself in a way that they understand that you're here on a vacation, but you're trying to protect yourself and protect them. Whoever else is in your van with you, I'm not opposed to telling somebody, where's your mask? So sometimes 100%. You have to speak, and I think that that's something diligent in doing, just in general. Your grocery store, your I just told a little kid the other day in my elevator, like, where's your mask? And I think he might have been 12 or 13. He's like, oh, mommy didn't give me one. I was like, well, tell your mommy to put a mask on you. So I think we need to, maybe that's going back to community and being more vocal. We need to start telling people that this is the new norm. And, speaking up for yourself.
No, it is what it is in that end. And just really quickly, I've been thinking about what is the safest, and someone else had this question too, like the safest place to sit on the plane. Does where you sit on the plane matter? Economy, business, or first class? I'm just going to come out and say, I know that affording first class and business class is an absolute privilege, and I absolutely acknowledge that. But depending on where I'm going and the flight duration, especially, and how crowded that plane is, I do wonder if you know, business class is kind of, you know, a route to protecting yourself at this point right now, especially flying internationally. And if you're flying like a suite like plane, like think about the throne seats, if you're familiar with JetBlue Mint, rows 2 and 4, my homies. You know, in terms of like, you have full space to yourself, you have more space to kind of be a bit more secluded. What are you guys thinking? Because the only thing that I hate about that is that it makes traveling safe and accessible, or safer, so inaccessible to most people.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think for me, I totally agree with you. Just in terms of space, first class and business is the obvious choice, but we can't all afford that. Like, you know, I don't fly first class all the time. I don't fly business all the time. And so it's going to be a tricky kind of situation. It's going to be, I hate the fact that it kind of makes travel what we have fought so long for it not to be. And it's like a privilege. So at this point, it's going to be the only people that can be safe or safer on a plane are the people that can afford business and first class. And those seats are already way above some people's pay grade, you know? So is it going to be those with the most points win now? Is it going to be those that just have the better credit card can get on there now? I mean, that is going to be a real privilege game, but it is probably the safest place to be, because unless airlines permanently block that middle seat, which even then you're still a little too close to some people. I mean, that's the only way to kind of give you some sense of safety and economy. And they're probably not going to do that because they're already pulling back on that now, and we're still in the thick of it.
100%. And yeah, you're absolutely right that it definitely, there she is. Oh, was it a classic Johannesburg power out?
Oh, so it's a little situation with my electricity, but you learn to roll with things when you're abroad, so I'm just gonna roll with it.
She's back, yay! Yeah, I think, you know, in order to, you know, just to wrap up safety, like safety is what you make it, ladies and gentlemen, if you've joined us. This is not a gendered conversation, but it's what you make it. It's how safe you feel right now. And that even extends to how safe do you feel to leave the house right now, right? Because you still got to get to the airport. You still have to deal with people on the way there. So there's no pressure. Don't think that there's any pressure, you know, to kind of go somewhere right now. Sometimes your best trip could literally be in the city next door. It could be renting a car, wiping that down, and then exploring, you know, the small town that you never heard about, the suburban kind of paradise that you've been thinking about.
Domestic travel is travel. Like domestic travel, it should be taken seriously. Like I can't wait to get on the road this summer and go somewhere. I was looking up places last night. Like there are places to see in our own country that we should, you know, take advantage of. So don't feel pressure.
100%. And even it's no pressure. It's no pressure to kind of like go to an amazing place. I know people are thinking about, such because we all live in the Northeast. Well, Tracy is in South Africa, but lives in New York. And, you know, people are all talking about like, I'm gonna go to the Hamptons, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna go to the Vineyard. And I'm like, that's fine because that's where everyone else is going. I'm gonna save some coins and go in the woods. Right. And then I'm gonna go see my mom down in Maryland, PG County. And then, you know, I might stop on the Eastern Shore and like try to find those little small ponies that they got. You know what I'm talking about? If you're from down there, right? And then figure that out, because I think right now we have to remix it for what feels safe for us. And if it's just you, your loved one, or your family in a car, and you're making it work, those are amazing opportunities for travel experiences. And I hope that this definitely does make domestic travel, to your point, Ashley, trendy. You know, because I think that we kind of like hold certain destinations, or, you know, people kind of, you know, they want to do it for the gram or whatnot. Like, do it for your peace of mind right now. And if that means, if you live in New York, heading to, you know, like I said, the Poconos or Philly or someplace in the Midwest, you know, that you've never, maybe not Missouri right now, but like heading someplace that just makes you happy and makes you safe. That's really important right now too, and you shouldn't discount that.
Definitely. I just want to say, just to piggyback off of you, definitely should. And this is the perfect time to do things that you've never done before. Go glamping. Montana is dope. Go to Pause Up. go to California and head to Ventana. Big Sur has my favorite bougie glamping. One of my favorite. They have a little tent. They give you a cheese and wine plate. It's great. It's in the middle of the redwoods.
Ojai too for that.
Yeah,
Ojai is great for glamping.
Try some of these amazing Black hotels. The Ivy is in Baltimore. You know, try there. Go to Salamander out there in Virginia. You know, check out the Cochran Sisters in Detroit. You know, go to some of these places that are kind of, you know, some place that you probably wouldn't have thought of because you were too busy trying to go to Thailand.
Exactly.
But go to Thailand next June.
Yeah, next year. Yeah,
to July, and you can go to travelflysoloweek.com because we got one solo room left.
Come through, plug. Right. Come through.
Yeah, you know, always gotta. Now we're gonna get into something that's just important as your safety, and that is your coins right now. But we have one question that not necessarily directed to money, but I wanted to ask it because I want to answer you immediately. My passport expires next September. I am afraid of even waiting until next year to get it renewed, but I am afraid of sending it in now because I know that is not a priority for the government. What would you suggest for people with passports that expire sooner than later? This is a loaded question.
It is
and this is when I hate to say it, like I hate using passport agencies. I absolutely hate using passport agencies. I feel like they are an absolute waste of money unless you have the money to afford. They're generally used for bigger businesses like corporate entities that can afford to pay the amount of money it takes to highly expedite a passport. But knowing this administration and kind of knowing what's going on, I personally say, y'all, and I would love to hear what you think, invest in a passport agency doing this for you.
It's tricky because you're talking September to, it's not even, it's more than a year. So if this person is talking about it expires September 2021, you're thinking maybe there's some time. But again, people who have filed unemployment still haven't gotten their money. You don't know what the system is looking like. You don't know when they do open up the amount of bodies that are going to come back into the offices. So you're right. I would spend the extra money. I would work with a second source person to expedite the passport just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, and then if your passport expires in September, you actually need to get it renewed no later than March, because a lot of places, if your passport expires within 6 months, they're not gonna let you in. A lot of places, we tell our travelers that all the time, and so. I hope you're watching right now, but I did want to make sure that we asked that because I saw that question and I was like, oh, like call me, girl, if you need help. All right, well, I want to talk about something really quick, and that is because we are all here for a flight deal. You know, I still remember the great Christmas deal of, what was that, 2012?
No, 2013. Shout out to Etihad.
Yes.
Oh,
the best Christmas ever.
On that trip. Oh, we remixed that.
I was
so
like
damn hard.
sick in the bed, like vomiting. I ate something bad, and I literally rolled over and was like, "Oh, let me book this flight deal. I gotta go to Abu Dhabi."
I literally was opening Christmas gifts, and my mom was doing a prayer, and I was like, and the whole family's like looking at me, and I'm like, I'm going to Abu Dhabi for like $50. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah. Shout out to No Madness Tribe. They know my obsession
with
the
Avita.
UAE. And Avita and them came through with the group WhatsApp and was like, Danielle, wake up, buy tickets for everybody. I think I got 3-4 tickets. I went to South Africa that year, Namibia that year, Abu Dhabi like 3 times. I was in there.
They don't know what they did.
For the first time. I came
so what about
the first time because of that glitch? Like, and then went with No Madness to India, like all for like no money. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm. It was like $200 to see the world. What trends in airline pricings are we seeing right now? I know Etihad right now is doing their 50% voucher deal from now into June 21st. And so that basically means you have to call them and basically buy a voucher. So if you buy a voucher for, say, $1,000, that voucher will be worth $1,500. And depending on, like, if you go to Abu Dhabi a lot because that is their main hub, you know, if the UAE is in your site for the next year or so, I think that's how long it is. I want to say 36 months, but yeah, but I know it's definitely good for a year. Mm-hmm. That's something that I'm seeing. And I messaged you about this, Danny, where I was just like, you just trying to murder me right now. But you
Take
know,
all
if
my
you're
coins.
if you're definitely trying to get out of here, like there are some deals right now, like voucher deals, because a lot of airlines are trying to get their money now, so you can fly later. What else have you guys been seeing right now?
Hotels are doing the same thing. Some of the hotels are starting to take, give travelers vouchers, like you said, similar to Etihad for flights. They're doing the same thing for hotels because they know travelers are still wary. Also, they lost a ton of money just in these few short months. So they're really trying to entice people. They're moving a lot away from the traditional, like, buy 2 nights, get 1 free. Like, they're really trying to say, like, if you come here, we'll give you like 3 free lunches and this voucher that you can use anytime you want for the next year. Just come. One thing I'm not seeing though is too many lower prices. So I think that's what a lot of people were hoping for. Like, we're gonna get all these amazing glitches and things like that, and I'm not seeing that. I mean, even for the holidays, even though they know we probably won't be able to go anywhere but like 3 places, they're still like, you want to go to South Africa for Afropunk? You're gonna pay this $2,000 and you're gonna buy this flight full fare. So I think it's gonna have to take some work on our parts to find deals like the ones from Etihad, like the ones hotels are offering, and just kind of keep our eyes out for that, because that's really it seems like that's really the only way we're gonna save money.
No, 100%. I think no one is in I see flight deals right now, and they're generally like super domestic, like, Brussels to Paris or something like that. But in terms of like long haul international, outside of voucher deals and credits, I'm not seeing really anything. And I think that, I'm going to make a prediction. I'm going to put myself out there. We can kiss the glitch goodbye for at least the next 6 months, because there's somebody right now in a computer room next to a server whose job it is to make sure that a glitch is not happening, because I think right now they have to recoup everything.
Well, I think, we can't even go certain places as Americans. So,
so why give the deal?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, they're opening up Europe and Asia between themselves, but not to us. So
exactly.
Yeah. And that's why you have to be super careful. Yeah, it's not worth it. Like, you do have to be super careful. Like, who is letting us in? Like, the Caribbean and Central America is letting us in right now. But what happens when you get back? If you're in Brazil right now or planning to go to Brazil, be prepared for a whole experience when you come home.
It's
a
bad.
whole experience in the airport right now. So that, Ashley, I think you raised a good point in that. And like, definitely look twice, or think twice, think 3 times in terms of if you see a deal, because it could very well be a deal for someone who lives in the UK to go someplace where they've been deemed safe. Or, Greece is a great example. They pulled a whole, I don't know if anyone caught the okie doke that they pulled on everyone, like, we're gonna open this summer, but not to everybody.
Yeah.
They were real careful about that.
Yeah, a soft opening.
Yeah, and they were like, oh, come to these beaches, but not y'all.
The president of this country is super petty, and so other countries like to be super petty back. So, we all have to suffer, essentially.
Yeah, we're suffering. We're definitely suffering.
Well, guess what we're doing in November, y'all? We're voting.
Yes.
We are voting.
We are voting.
We got to go somewhere. Y'all, we got to vote. You know why? Because we got to go places. Yeah. Like, vote for the trips. If you never voted before, vote for the trips. Vote for the stunt. Vote for the gram. I don't even know if that makes any sense.
Whatever it takes.
But whatever it takes
to the polls
right now. All right, I want to go to another important question that we got here as well, around what should I know if I didn't book directly with an airline or hotel? And I know, Ashley, we were talking about this last night.
Yeah, don't do that. Especially just
don't do that.
Not right now. Like, just at least not right now. Like, you open yourself up to so much heartache if you book through third-party sites. Just go directly to the airline or the hotel, so you can have some sort of recourse in case something happens. These third-party websites, the wait times are long. If something happens, I think I read somewhere it was like 5 hours on a phone call when something, when COVID first happened.
Exactly.
And then, they'll direct you to the hotel. The hotel will direct you back to Expedia or whatever, third party you use. And so you really, I think, just to save yourself some heartbreak and some of your time, I think it's best to just book directly with your vendor.
Yeah. And that also includes if you book with credit cards, ladies, if you're watching. Like, I book with points a lot. That's actually how I'm able to fly the way I like to fly. And I learned this the hard way when, I wanted to cancel a flight, and Qatar Airlines was like, oh, baby, don't call us. Oh, no, it was Singapore Airlines. Like, don't call us, call Chase, like right now. Like, we can't help you. And thankfully, Chase has one, especially if you have the Sapphire card, has one of the best travel plans, out there, in my opinion. That's a card that I would definitely invest in. And they were able to work with me with a great credit.
Mm-hmm.
But, not all credit card companies are built the same. Like, they may offer the same amount of points and bonuses, but you have to look up two things with your credit card companies: what kind of travel insurance they offer on your purchase, because that generally is included in that, but we'll get into travel insurance in a second. And then also yes, Christina, I'm looking at the question that you just put. That does apply to preferred and reserve, but there are some preferred and reserve, like the differences between them literally are, quite frankly, level of income and how you're approved and some of the perks. But most of the policies are pretty much the same. What was I saying? The level of travel insurance, and then also what is the recourse when you do book through their agency, because generally it's a travel agency. Like, that's what it is when you book through a credit card, and that is considered a third party as well.
I would just want to jump in and say, since we're talking about coins, or we were talking about coins, not booking through the third party is how you get your loyalty points, especially with hotels. So if you book through booking.com to get your hotel room because you think you're getting a deal, you miss out on the loyalty points that you could get booking directly with the Marriott property or directly with Hilton or Hyatt, to get you those free stays, to get you some of the perks that come along with that, like with something that you might need now, which is transportation to and from the airport. Your status will get you some of those things, but you have to book directly with them. And something that I was telling the ladies last night is sometimes they have deals that are not listed on their site. So you might go on the site and look under their offers and only see a free breakfast offer. But if you email concierge directly, like email reservations directly, or call the hotel directly, they might have an offer that's not listed, or they might have an offer that's only specific to certain status that you have with the, with their loyalty program. So booking directly with them has its perks as well.
You know what, Danny, you just gave me an idea for a future chat, which is, because you and I know this world very well, like the secret, kind of like the secret world of what to ask for at hotels.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't understand, like they walk past the concierge's office like, it's a random person. That person could be your key to a great night out, or like a cute night by the bar. Like, that's all. Yeah, that is the plug.
As an example of what Shannon's saying, a lot of people go to France and they love to explore the wine region. But if I'm not mistaken, it is it's escaping me right now. One of those, I think it's Dom Perignon, has a house out there, but it's invite only. If you stay
it's Maison Veuve, I think.
Yeah. One of them is invite only.
Invite only.
If you stay at the Four Seasons in Paris, the sommeliers there have the hookup. Make friends with the sommeliers at the Four Seasons. They'll get you that invite, and you can have an exclusive experience that none of your friends will have because they can't get in because they stayed at the Airbnb. So there's just little tips like that people think like, oh, staying at fancy hotels is a waste of money. But trust me, it could elevate your experience if you just ask the right questions. But anyway, let's go on.
So we've given you a preview of what our next chat is going to be like. Stay tuned. I do want to ask a question that I'm really passionate about, so I'm selfishly asking this, but I would love to know your opinions on this, because this is very important. I preach the gospel of travel insurance. I actually spent this morning looking up a new plan for myself and decided not to do an annual plan, and I can get into why. And so the question that we got was from Lachey, if you're watching. I'm new to travel insurance and would love to understand how it protects you, pros and cons of having insurance.
that was such an easy question to answer 3 months ago.
Yes.
But COVID has changed a lot. Like, I had an annual plan, and I had, canceled for any reason, addendum to that. And now with COVID, a lot of insurance policies have removed that because they lost money on the cancel for any reason. So it's a little bit tricky to answer now with everything evolving, but it is a must. I have to say that I didn't always use travel insurance. I never wanted to check that box for extra travel insurance. I never wanted to go to World Nomads or any of them and sign up for travel insurance. What made me do it, and if we have any tribe members in here, was the big Panama accident that happened with some members of tribe. And seeing how people that I knew and cared about did not have insurance to go to the hospital, didn't have insurance to stay extra nights at hotels, didn't have money to bring their bodies home because they didn't sign up for the insurance. It really hit me in a different way. I didn't want my family to have to come into tribe and beg for points or money to bring my body home. I didn't want them to have to do that. Even though we gave willingly of our hearts, that's still, you don't want to put your family through that. So I really started taking it seriously from then, making sure that I don't have, insurance that just covers my bags, but covers me, covers evacuations, covers, any kind of medical accidents I might have, covers my activities. A lot of people don't know that some of the crazy things that we do, bungee jumping, skydiving, that's not covered sometimes under your normal travel insurance. You have to get a separate policy for that, or something, additional rider.
Adventure sports coverage.
Sports coverage, just to say, like, if you went jet skiing, sometimes that's not covered. ATV riding sometimes is not covered, depending on the plans. So making sure that I have those things that cover more than my bags, that cover all of me. And I think that's really the important thing, because, if anything happens, I don't want my family to be like, how the hell do we bring Danny home?
Yeah. And I think, when you're young, you see that extra $200, $300, and you're like, I can use that towards something else, when I get there. But I think, as we've gotten older, we, see that things happen, and you just need to be prepared for that. I think people need to be aware that sometimes your credit card has insurance policies as well if you book using your credit card. So I think Shannon, be mindful of that and read through those policies. I'm guilty of sometimes not reading every single, thing that is written, but it's definitely worth it to take the time to do that.
Yeah. I actually have a story about that. Like, can you guys see me okay? I'm over here trying to hold the light.
Yeah, it's very
like a campfire.
We like it, yes.
Yeah, I like it.
So I'll just be transparent. I'm one of the ones who hardly ever gets travel insurance, and I have jumped off bridges in Victoria Falls. So it's like, I'm the opposite of what you should do. But for, like, I think sometimes go with your gut. So there was, last year when I was here, I was renting a car. And I rarely drive out of the country, because you drive on the other side of the street, on the other side of the vehicle, right? And I was booking, I was like, you know what, maybe I should just in case, book this with my Amex, right? So I booked the car with my Amex, didn't think anything of it. 2 days later, I'm in an accident. And so, I'm in the middle of the garden route in South Africa by myself, trying to figure out what to do with this, with the car, the windows busted out, it's the whole thing, right? And I called Amex, and I didn't pay a dime. Or if I did, it was like nothing compared to the damage I would have paid if I paid on my debit card or cash or anything like that. Exactly. And so, to mention those credit cards, if you have a credit card like Amex or the ones that have the insurance, a good insurance policy, I will never book anything without using my Amex after that. And the same thing happened with a flight. I checked the little box, and a month later lost my job. And so what I didn't realize was that there is a clause in all that fine print that says if you lose your job within a certain amount of time, you get your money back. And so I was refunded for that whole flight, so you just never know. You're thinking like, oh, I'm not going to get sick. There's so many other things that can happen while you're traveling besides getting sick that insurance covers, whether you have a big plan, whether you just check the box, whether you use a credit card, but just if you can afford it, you may be covered for things you don't think are going to happen.
Right. I think, you raise a good point, Tracy, in terms of, losing your job. And this is the thing about travel insurance. Ashley touched on this as well. Like, I think the number one thing to think about is if you have a credit card that offers travel insurance. I am in the camp that that is not enough insurance. And this is why. When you get your credit card, like I'm going to use Chase Sapphire as an example, and you get this long pamphlet, right? And it's full of like really like 4-point font of stuff. That is by design, number one. Even the PDFs that you get online are like that because they don't want you to read the whole thing. Grab a glass of wine, put on some music, read the whole thing. And I say that because I thought that I was like, okay, I have insurance with my Chase Sapphire card. I didn't have the insurance that I needed for a trip that I took at that time. It's very basic cancellation insurance. And it's all pretty much the reason why, as Danny mentioned, you know, we were all good with travel insurance about 3 months ago, but now maybe not so much. I just put a link in the chat about with the article that I wrote breaking this all down. But right now, travel insurance, not even right now. Think about the business of insurance first before you buy a travel insurance policy. It is not in their best interest to actually give you your money back. So they're going to make it hard for you to understand what things you need or what kind of policy you need. They will try their best to sell you the most basic policy. Create a policy that works for you. Danny mentioned cancel for any reason. This is one of the most foolproof ways to like, I don't even feel like going. I'm not going to go. Boom. But here's the jig. Cancel for any reason insurance is not available in all 50 states. There's legislation right now currently looking to have it, you know, nationally be like a part of all 50 states. But the reason why some states don't want to do it is because then more people will find out about it and they have to give money back. But if you live in, I believe in New York, New Jersey, you know, most of the East Coast has cancel for any reason. And that's because of our most coastal states, the high number of business travelers that need that. Speaking of business and work, cancel for work reasons, which is completely different from losing your job. Job loss is generally covered in most policies, but you should look in your policy. But cancel for work reasons means I gotta go to a meeting I can't move. I gotta go on a job trip that I can't move. Y'all losing me. Okay, I'm gonna come back here because the sun. Can you see me? Okay. Yeah, like, you know, my job basically told me that I can't take this. If you're like me and you kind of like put vacation days in that you don't have, that's my fault. I'm notorious for that. But if they're like, no girl, can't do it. There's a clause for that. Those are both known as upgrades. So those aren't even policies. Those are upgrades to an existing policy. The best way to think about travel insurance is to try to predict everything that could happen either on your trip or within the next 6 months of what's going on with you or what's going on with that trip. If you have a pre-existing condition, make sure that that is covered in your policy. If you are getting, you know, personal accident insurance or hospitalization insurance, make sure that your policy or know what your policy dictates in terms of, do you have to pay for your medical expenses up front and then they reimburse you later? Or do they pay for them when you get admitted to the hospital? I know that it sounds like a maze. It's not the easiest thing the first time you do it, it's not the easiest thing to navigate by yourself. But the best thing that I did one day, I literally woke up one morning. I knew that the company that I was going to book would open at 8 a.m. And I was right there on the phone in my bed with this woman for a whole 2 hours talking about, I do this, I do that, I do this. What about this? And she's like, well, you can have X, you can do this, and like broke down the whole thing. If you go to even travelinsurance.com, there's a learning center, travel tips, like there's all kinds of articles on like how to buy the best insurance. It is not one size fit all. I know a few of the ladies on this call have mentioned, like, I didn't check that box. Even that insurance is a blanket insurance. Get a policy, especially in the times of COVID, that works for you. If you work in an industry like mine, I work in advertising, people getting laid off left and right. If I'm taking any trip right now, I'm getting canceling for work reasons and making sure that cancel for job loss is definitely in there. And so again, you have to look at travel insurance through the lens of, what is my life doing right now? What is going on with me? And then you have to literally build a policy that works with you. Last but not least, I would say annual travel insurance is great. I had annual travel insurance for about the last 4 years. The reason why I'm not going forward with an annual policy is because of COVID, quite frankly. And the fact that you cannot have a cancel for any reason upgrade on most annual plans. And I didn't really need those. You know, I had all these other upgrades, but right now I'm looking at every trip that I book personally. I'll do sometimes the airport or the airline insurance, but I have my own plan because that plan I know 100% covers my family. You know, it covers the lifestyle. And to Danny's point, like there's no question who to call. I'm covered. I have X amount of thousands of dollars to get me out of a country. And that's super important. And if you DM me on Parlour Travel, I'm happy to point you into any, you know, links and resources that you need, because right now people are not really talking about travel insurance the way that they need to through the lens of clarity, because it makes them no money. So of course they want you to buy a policy right now, but I want you to buy, and I speak for all these women, I want you to buy the right policy that works for you. Don't settle for like the one size fit all, because one size definitely don't fit all right about now. And I feel like I'm in a Prince video, but we're gonna
It's
work
a little
that out.
mysterious. It's a a little mysterious. It's fine.
Giving you some travel mystery. All right. Another question about coins. I was booked for a group trip that is still happening this fall, but I don't think it's safe. She's not talking about Destinations Natural because Sabrina knows what she's doing. The organizers are saying it's non-refundable. How can I get my money back?
Sabrina's like, girl, I can't help you.
Listen, you know,
I saw this question and busted out laughing, and that's so go ahead, Sabrina.
I mean, it again, if you're dealing with group travel and you sign an agreement and you're working with the travel agent, all that is written out. It clearly states what's, you know, what compensation you can get back. It's non-refundable. You know, I know that we have been very upfront in sharing information with all our attendees. And, you know, Jess is the same. People call her, they try and fish and get all this information. You know, if it's not canceled, then you cannot get your money back. You can get a credit, and the credit really depends on the resort. It depends on a variety of different things. If the place is open, like, you know, a lot of people were saying, well, you know, Cabo's closed. If Cabo's closed during our event, then yes, we have recourse. But if it's open, then the reality is you cannot get a refund. So that's kind of, you know, what it is. No refund, no refund. I don't even know how to explain it better than that.
Yeah.
You know, it's not even like anybody's trying to get over on you, because we're all in the same place. We're all kind of trying to figure things out together. I know that you have had to, you know, postpone your event, and that's another option.
Right.
It's still happening. It's just being postponed for the following year. You know, COVID has definitely done a lot of that situation even for myself, for my standard events where I've had to postpone things. You know, force majeure comes into play. There's a lot of legal things and stuff like that. So it's unfortunate, but no, you're not getting your money back.
Here's what I'll say. I think right now, and I've never been in the habit of bashing any brands, and I will stick to that. But I think a lot of group travel producers' true colors are showing right now, and their level of planning and their level of professionalism and know-how. One of the things that we do on all of our trips is that we work in a clause. We always basically have a plan B and a C. That plan B is 100% postponement. And we give people the option of postponing as well. And we know that sometimes people cannot even really see into the future that far.
Exactly.
And they're like, I don't know. And so we always try to make sure that there is an opportunity to have a credit as well. I think you touched on something really important, Sabrina, in the sense that the reason why, you know, I can produce a 10-day, almost all-inclusive luxury trip to Thailand, which you should go to travelsoloweek.com and look at right now, is because we do non-refundable, you know, we sign non-refundable agreements. That's how you're able to get the lowest price. But it's also good to make sure that you're safeguarding people in terms of pushing people to, you know, get travel insurance. You know, I find it highly responsible when I see trips certain Caribbean cruises that I won't call out right now, and other things that like they don't even actually work that in to their communication of terms like protect your. I see you, Danny. Protect your investment. That's a large investment.
A large investment.
Like at least like educate your people on how to protect their coins if you cannot
they
offer
don't.
a recourse
for
them to do that. And so again, like, does your travel producer or the group that you're going with, do they have a plan B and a C? People ask me that all the time, and it is my duty. I tend to think to answer that and say, hey, if you can't make it, we can do this and we can do this. We've even gone above and beyond and literally selling people's trips. If you have something going on, if you level with us and you're like, hey, this is what's happening right now and I just can't do it. I need that money or whatever, or just like straight up, like, is there anything else that we can do? If we have a lot of interest in the trip, we'll resell it. That is not something that is not a blanket policy at all, because it's not a guarantee and I hate to do it. But I would say this, before booking any group trip, read the fine print of that agreement that you sign, because that will spell out everything that will happen. If I cancel a trip, I absolutely owe you your money back. If I postpone a trip, I do not owe you your money back. But in good service, I will make sure that we have some above and beyond offers for you in order to travel again. Like, for example, in Curacao, we got free nights for everybody. Nice. And for people who weren't able to make it, and 99% of people are coming next year, for the literally the one person who was just like, I can't do it, and she works in a field where she can't predict her yearly schedule, she gets a credit. Her credit is valid at any AM resort in the world. You know what I mean? Like, and for a year, so she can plan her own little something at an all-inclusive resort. Like, you just want to make sure that they say the devil is in the details. And when it comes to group trips, that is so apparent. Protect your investment with travel insurance. That is the best thing that I can say, because more than likely, if you sign a non-refundable agreement, it's going to be hard to get that money back. And even chargebacks can be contested. A lot of people think I could just I could just tell my credit. Not necessarily.
No, Chase might give you that initial credit. Once they start investigating it,
they investigate it, and they get a document, and they're like, well, actually, no. That can definitely happen. So I'm going to get off my soapbox right now. I'm going to say that there are amazing group trips. There's 3 planners on this panel right now, and I'm happy to recommend whether you choose. I'd be honored if you travel with Parlour, but there are so many places and people that I would absolutely recommend. You just want to make sure that you're dealing with people who are on board. And yes, I was shady, but whatever.
All in fine.
All right, I think it is 6:26. Do we want to do a time check? I want to keep going for about, say, 15 more minutes, and then we're going to open up to some questions that you may have watching this right now. And so if you use the webinar chat feature right here in Zoom, you can just ask a quick question. I know someone raised a hand earlier. I hope you still remember your question, but we can get to that right now. In terms of timing, I think we talked about this, like, when would you feel safe traveling again? What's 100% up to you? Is international travel this fall a possibility? Get your card and hopefully that they love America. Is it realistic to plan travel for 2021? I think absolutely. Yeah. I think as long as you have travel insurance and you're able to let go of that and, be flexible, 100%.
Exactly.
What about you guys? 2021 feeling like way better?
Yeah, flexibility is going to be the key moving forward. Travel insurance, flexibility, and where our little blue passport takes us, because we don't know when other countries are going to feel safe with us. And this is such a turn, because we're used to being able to go anywhere with our passport. And now it's kind of like we've become international pariah. So you're going to have to be very flexible. But 2021, if you want to plan, I think it's totally fine. You just have to do what we mentioned earlier, which is check the official government sites.
Do your
because
research.
do your research. Those regulations are going to be changing as we get new information on COVID, as we get new spikes, and those kind of things. So make sure you just stay on top of that. buy your travel insurance, and just be willing to be flexible. You may not even, you may have to push it back a week. You may not be able to go on your birthday trip on your birthday, but maybe the month after. Like, just try to be flexible. And again, don't discount domestic travel. I think everybody's itching to go overseas, but you might have to, have your lit time in, Arizona. And that's okay.
And Arizona is cute.
Yes,
It
Arizona's cute.
It's very cute.
Arizona is very cute, especially if you can get a really, really nice share in the desert, with those sunsets. Girl, you got me thinking right now. And that actually touched into a question that we just got. And what domestic locations would you recommend that are low key but enjoyable? I know we just talked about the Midwest. I know we talked about the Southwest as well. But I want to talk about solo travelers, because I'm a big solo travel advocate. I'm a big solo traveler myself. Do we think right now with COVID as well, and just being Black women and being solo travelers, is there a location that you would recommend right now?
USVI.
Mm-hmm.
The USVI, it's my home away from home. You could definitely do a great solo trip there. I know a lot of people prefer to go to St. Thomas because that's where all the cruise ships stop and that kind of thing, but don't sleep on St. Croix. I love St. Croix. St. Croix is life. The food there is amazing. The food there is better than the other two islands. I don't care. Fight me. St. Croix has some of the best food.
Oh, what's his name that has the restaurant there? He's so cute too.
The one that owns a craft bar?
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Frank owns Best, the craft bar there. You have one of the gentlemen that owns Balter is cute. Zion, there's a ton of great.
I'm talking about
Balter,
Balter
is great. Crucian Fusion. You can go to Zion for some people watching. You can go to Larianne's Chicken Shack and watch the game and have some Johnny cakes and some rotisserie chicken. They have the best food.
That sounds good.
And if you're a solo
where we going?
Wait, you don't need your passport, but I'm like,
and you don't need your passport. It's part of the continental United States, so you can go there, and it's great for solo travelers because there are still activities that you can do where you don't need to have a group. So there's a young woman named Anquinette who runs Virgin Food Tour there. She's super dope. She's really nice.
I work with her.
She's very knowledgeable on the history of the island. She takes you to all the great food spots. If you're a real island girl and you love your curry, she will take you to Sings and get you a roti first thing in the morning. So, there are things you can do. She'll take you to Buck Island. Like, there's a lot of things that you can do on your own there. And so it's perfect for solo travel. It's easy. Getting to the other islands, might require a little extra in your budget, and a little planning, but it still makes for a great trip, and you won't be with a lot of crowds like you probably would on St. Thomas or St. John, since those are more popular islands in the USVI. So I think that's a great destination, and you get a little beach and no passport required. You can't get any easier than that.
Cannot beat that.
100%. And a big shout out to the previous Minister of Tourism, but she's still one of my favorite people, Beverly Doty. I hope you're watching right now, but I'm definitely going to make sure that you see this, because you made me fall in love with St. Croix. And even to add to that, I remember I was training in St. Croix and I was running like miles a morning, and I've never felt more comfortable literally running on the side of a road by myself like I did there. Okay, so it's still domestic, but it is called America's Paradise for a reason.
Yep.
And I just want to ask one more question before we get into I'm not seeing any questions. Oh, wait, where do you go to get these? Okay, all right, I got that. Ladies, if you have any questions that you want to ask us right now, I suggest putting them in the chat right now, and we'll get to them. So a few more here. I know we talked about TSA and Precheck lines being longer. We're seeing that they're even more highly expedited. Someone else asked a question around, are there areas where you begin traveling first before others? I know I'm looking more so towards the Caribbean at this point, even though I lied and said I was going to Oman on Instagram. When I actually looked up the amount of money it was going to take me to do that, I've changed my mind. I just didn't tell y'all. But I think the Caribbean is 100% calling my name. What about you guys?
Caribbean.
Caribbean. I'm also looking at the getaway houses because, you know, that isolation is key. So if you've never done the getaway house, it's just, you know, a little cabin where you can unplug, like literally they have a box for you to put your phone in so you can be one with nature. So I'm looking more towards that. And I'm looking to just explore more of the luxe things that are here. You know, I love a good spa. So heading out to Arizona, Antelope Canyon, and heading over to, Miami and getting a nice treatment. You could definitely come. Yes, tag yourself.
I'm putting a tag on myself so I could come.
Yeah, why not? You know, and I love those kind of things. So just going and exploring more of that, you know. There's a Four Seasons Westlake Village in California. They have a great wellness program. So hey, why not get in shape while I'm kind of locked in the United States?
Lisa Brown just called out, and I know this place, Wellspring Manor and Spa in Black Oak.
It's like in Aspen Hill or something.
Right by my mama house in Upper Marlboro.
Last night I was actually looking at Marriott Homes and Villas. They have, I think it's in certain states, but close to me it's like Virginia and Tennessee, I think. But you know, you can choose how many bedrooms. It's, you know, it's like the Airbnb of Marriott, and so they have some lovely homes there as well.
Tracy, I know you're on your way back home soon, I hope. Yes. But any place that you're looking to go to first?
I mean, because it's winter here, I just need somewhere warm. And so, I mean, I'm looking at the list of countries that are opening. Jamaica's at the top of my list. I mean, that's always one of my favorite places to go between the food and everything. So yeah, just somewhere that's quick and easy to get to. And I'm just definitely, obviously, a solo situation, so I'll be off doing my own thing. You know, I'm not in a rush, right? So I feel like once I get back, I have plans to see my family first. And so we're planning our little getaway in a home in South Carolina, and it's going to be awesome. You know, so I think that you have to sort of think about, you know, what's important right now sometimes. And I know all of us are globetrotters, but I've been away from, you know, my family for so long. I don't care where we go. We can go to Myrtle Beach. We can go we can go to Long Beach. It doesn't matter. You know, I think as long as you're around people that you care about, you can rethink what travel means for the next 6 months. And then maybe, you know, hit up Jamaica or, you know, Antigua or Curacao, one of my favorite, you know, countries or islands a little bit later. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing we haven't really talked about is like that generational travel, like that I feel like is going to happen this summer, like where we're going to be traveling with our families. Yeah. And so you have to kind of gauge everyone's comfort level. I know my mother is not going to be okay with getting on a plane right now. So, you know, Myrtle Beach it is, you know. So, you know, you have to consider all those things.
Yeah, whatever's safe for everyone. You know, I have nieces and nephews. My parents are like in the whatever age range that is for it to be a little weird to be traveling right now. So we're just doing what makes sense to be safe.
Yeah, you have to be cognizant of other people and their issues, what they could potentially, you know, get sick from. So you kind of have to keep it close.
And Sabrina, I know you have 2 boys too. Like, is there a place have you, you know, and your family been talking about like getting them out the house somewhere?
Man, listen. It's like, Lord, I just need school to be done. I mean, it's tricky because, you know, they're at an age, they're grown, 22 and 16 or 17. They don't want to be around, but we've been trapped in the house for 13 weeks. So we have to go somewhere. And usually we would get on a plane, we'd go to Puerto Rico, we'd go to Jamaica, we'd go to Miami, and definitely not going to Florida, definitely not going to Puerto Rico. So we have to think about what does the new family trip look like this summer? You know, am I going to get in a car? Where am I going to drive? Am I driving down to Virginia? Is Virginia safe? So I'm really starting to think about, you know, maybe going to the Poconos, maybe going somewhere deep in Jersey. So I just have to kind of reassess that, because for me, events are pretty much null and void for the rest of the year. So I have all the time. So I have to kind of think about that.
Well, speaking of time, I'm just going to ask the last question and start answering some of the questions that we got here. What have you ladies been doing? What have we been doing in lieu of traveling? Because Lord knows I should be on a flight right now, but
I've been eating, lives, Zooms. I mean, I had my first month, I literally was in my feelings. I felt like, woe is me, this can't be happening. Because again, it literally happened a week before my event started to kick off. And then I came to the conclusion, listen, this is the reality. You got to shit or get off the pot. So I started thinking about all the brands and businesses that I work with and how could I still support them in any way virtually. So we started showcasing a lot of the Black-owned brands that I work with online, working with a lot of them remotely, because I think a lot of brands kind of like were nervous, like, oh, we're not going to do anything. I said, this is not the time to go dark. So kind of recreating how they're going to share their story. And it was cool when the weather wasn't great. And now that the weather's getting better, everybody's itching to do more, activations that are outside. So we're going to actually do a social distancing picnic. We're going to do one every month, and hopefully that'll work out where everybody's 6 feet apart. We get together, but we're apart, because New York has been really good. We've really tried to do the right thing. And I'm hoping that we stay the course, because Cuomo's not playing. He will shut us down.
He's definitely not playing with us.
Cuomo, I feel like it's just waiting to read all of us.
He really is. He is. Daily.
He is. And I love it.
I think for me, I do plan on doing a picnic also. That's on my agenda to do now that the weather is nice. But for me, I have been showing up and showing out in the kitchen, because I know a couple of y'all know my other half. He tried to play me, and he thought I didn't know how to cook, because I was a busy working woman coming home late, so I was whipping up the quick meals.
Don't let me come over there.
How to cook. He thought I didn't know how to cook. Oh, I've been feeding him fat and wife beaters all 2020 and 2021. He's gonna have a gut for days. I've been baking bread. I've been making tomorrow. He's getting oatmeal brown sugar cookies. I don't care. He's getting all the cookies. I've been making everything. I made cinnamon swirl banana muffins the other day. He's been getting. Listen,
I'm just trying to find out why we not over
Tennessee cake.
Get a delivery happening.
I might have to do that. Because that's really what I've been doing. I have more time now to cook. I really do enjoy cooking and baking. So since I have the time now, I've just really been showing out. I've been up at 7 a.m. I call it my pre-9 a.m. flex, and I'll make like a loaf of bread before 9 a.m.
Wow.
Before 9 a.m. Or like I've been.
I thought I was flexing doing emails at 6 a.m. You just baking bread.
Yeah, just baking cocoa bread at 7 a.m. No big deal. Like just
Oh no! Did you see how she just flexing all of us?
You said cocoa bread.
Just making cocoa bread.
I made Guyanese beef patties the other day at like 7:30 in the morning. I was just up like, I got a tart pan. I'm gonna just make some patties. Like,
wow.
I need something to throw.
Yeah. I thought I was doing something. I made curry chicken for the first time. People were like, wait, aren't you West Indian? I was like, yeah, I don't cook. I made it once. It was amazing. My kids were like, I was like, yeah, no, I can't recreate that. That was a one-time deal.
What's going on with you, Ashley? What have you been doing in
Yeah, I mean, same. I've been cooking, finding recipes on Pinterest, making limoncello, which has been really fun. I've been able to give treats to my friends, come pick it up outside, safe distance, But I've also been exploring some walking trails. Like Baltimore has different trails that you can walk in different areas of the city. And so that's been really fun. It's like a different way to see the city while you're not in a car. Something I probably would never do if we weren't quarantined. So that's been really fun. It's not travel, but it's exploring. And so, that can be fun as well.
Yeah. How's it been going for you in Johannesburg, Tracy?
It's interesting. Our lockdown was a little bit more strict. So I think that I spent, plenty of time doing the things that you guys are doing, cooking. I've taken up running, which I used to hate, but I was like, okay, let me get out, do something. So I've been running. Then also getting involved with local projects. So I did spend sort of the first part of the lockdown trying to raise money for 2 communities in Ghana because, like I mentioned earlier, these people who, everybody doesn't work from home, and so once the lockdown started, the money stopped and they don't have any food, right? So we had a fundraiser to help them just get started with groceries. As things open up, things will get back to normal, but just help out with groceries. So I did that for the first, I think, month. And then now I'm trying to get involved with more local parcel distribution because, again, the government may be helping, but a lot of communities here in townships just aren't getting the food that they're promised. So I've been working with people here to find out like what can we do to help, if it's just hands, if it's money, things like that. So that's what I've been doing on top of just cooking up a storm. I'm not making Guyanese meat patties, but I'm trying to get.
I mean,
send you the recipe. Ashley knows. She sees it on my Instagram, but she's like, "Girl, what is that?"
I got my eye on those Hennessy bundt cakes. I'm like, can I get my nails?
Oh, Hennessy bundt cakes. Oh, okay, all right.
Oh, now that
I made many Hennessy bundt cakes. I was handing them out in the building like I was Oprah. Like, you get a bundt cake, you get a bundt cake.
Hey. Oh my gosh, I know where to come when I get home.
I haven't been making any bundt cakes, but I have been making plenty of food. Plenty of food and spending a lot of time. It's funny, I moved into this loft during COVID, and so I've been really making a house a home for 13 weeks. Like right now, I'm like, the crevice of my wall needs to be cleaned right now because I can just see everything within such detail. But yeah, a lot of cooking. Shout out to anyone who has a Peloton watching us right now. I broke down like right when COVID hit, and I was just like, do it. It was like, when Beyonce talks about demon time, like my demon time was a voice that was like, buy the bike. And so I literally bought it at 4 a.m. A lot of Pelotoning, but a lot of riding. To Ashley's point, I also have a road bike, and I've been getting on it. I've been trying to get on it, no less than 2 times a week, and explore where I live in a completely different way. You do see your world in a completely different way on a bicycle. I live in New Jersey, and so our state parks were predominantly closed except for the more kind of remote ones. And then even then, they kind of let you into them in a sense because there was like no one else out there. And so I've been taking like the weekend to figure out, okay, what local state park do I want to go to, up by the Palisades or over here by Liberty State Park, and walk my dog Selassie and like hang out and just try to I was born in this state, and I shamefully cannot say that I know this state 100% outside of Trenton, which is where my family is originally, or my mother's side rather, is originally from. And so I just been kind of rediscovering my backyard and trying not to eat carbs. That's me to answer your question.
Like, don't come over here.
But I ain't coming over there.
All the cars. We got all the cars over here.
We had a few questions, but they were all kind of the same thing, which is crazy. Where do you go to get these travel insurance policies? One of the best places that you can start, I can tell you, is insuremytrip.com, which is essentially like the Google Flights or, any other marketplace that you can think of for all travel insurance policies. And you can type in all of like, pretty much the basic things that you want and get a policy that works for you. But I would say also do some research around specialized policies, especially if you work in a particular industry or anything like that. Like those marketplaces are good. They're a good place to start, but do some research on, there are, Alliance is great, for example, for business travelers and what they offer, but Seven Corners is great for someone who's more of an adventure traveler or going, especially like to the Caribbean. Like they all kind of have things that they're really good at. If you DM me at parlourtravel.com, I'm happy to like send you any resources that you have. All right, it is 6:46, and unless we want to continue to have some drink shout outs to McBride sisters, I got my Black Girl Magic on.
Tell them to send me a bottle so I can drink it with the bread.
Andy, I know you watching, girl.
Yeah,
I'm about
we'll
to
drink
send us all the bottle. I've never had it.
I don't think I have either, actually.
No. Actually, no, I did have it at Renee's event, but I don't remember which one I had.
Oh, I like this rosé, but I'll tell you, like a lot of people know them because of Black Girl Magic, but their collection, the Sauvignon Blanc in their collection, woo! I've gone through a bottle of that, and like 2 hours later, I'm like, did I drink all that? I didn't drink all that.
Actually drinking Black-owned Uncle Nearest.
Uncle Nearest,
yes.
Shout out to Black Bourbon Society who put me on to Uncle Nearest. My homegirl from way back started that, and again, another Black women founded platform, Black Bourbon Society. Definitely get into that. Well, with that, I'm gonna say good night. Wait. Jay says for Danny, where are you?
Oh, where am I looking to visit in Arizona? So, one, I'm gonna do for my, nature kind of thing. I want to do Antelope Canyon, but I love a good spa. So I'm looking to either go and do kind of like a week-long detox or something at Mirvana or Miamo. Those are the two places that I really love to go to for a great kind of spa escape that's also wellness focused. So you can do the detox, you can speak to nutritionists and that kind of thing. So that's my main focus there.
I think the second question is, are we coming with you?
I mean, you can.
Okay.
You
I'll
can
sit 6
definitely
feet away
come.
from you.
Yes, you can. Another great spa place that people don't really go to, Utah, has the Amman property there is super dope. I'm not gonna recommend the spa treatments that I get because, as Shannon mentioned at the top of the conversation, I kind of take all the coins. But it's great to kind of go and have that social distancing and be in nature, and you can hike and you can do all of those wonderful things. And people don't consider Utah some place that they want to go. It's not a place on their travel list, but if you are a nature lover or if you're just looking to unplug a little bit, that's a great place to go.
I road trip through there. It's beautiful.
It's
Absolutely
gorgeous.
Beautiful. Utah is definitely slept on, 100% slept on as a state.
Now, for those who got a couple of extra coins, you DM me at Hotel Whisper and I'll tell you about the spa treatment I took. But listen.
I'm just waiting for Danny's show. I'm happy to executive produce it, because girl, you, like I said, this is the one person to follow if you want to figure out how to spend your money. But just be careful, because you will spend too much
all
money.
your money. We don't do budgets. The only B's we acknowledge are Bentleys, butlers, and bath maidens. That's it. Period.
I'm not mad.
Come through, Danny. I mean, right? All right. So I just want to say an extra special thank you to all of our panelists for joining me. You can follow Ashley at Will Drink for Travel. You can follow Sabrina at Natural Partners in Crime. You can follow the one and only Danny, aka at Hotel Whisperer. And you can follow all of the projects that Tracy is doing at BK Travel Addict. And I hope that you continue to join me. My name is Shannon. You can follow me, my travel life, at parlourtravel.com. I hope that you're able to join us in some of our trips as well. Thank you for your time, ladies. Please stay safe. Stay 6 feet away from everybody that you don't know. Keep your mask on. Wash your hands. We got places to go, but we got to survive to get there. And in this world and in this day and this age, stay faithful, stay fervent, and stay in the fight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank
Bye,
you.
y'all.
Take care, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.